and welcome to Pellet Feeder, and you join me on another lockdown video. Hope you enjoyed the little Tommy Pickering one we've just put back up. It's something that I've had on the channel for a while. Big thanks to Matt Richardson a few years ago for videoing it for me while I were at work. I just sort of remastered it a little bit, tidied it up a little bit, and just branded it back as the Angling For You was originally. It was one of the old angling info videos, so that I just saw it while we're going through, and I thought it would be a nice one to sort of remaster and put at the side of the setup video that obviously released yesterday as well. Yeah, so it seems like I'm getting good feedback from these little lock-up videos, and you know, I'm just trying to do my part on giving back to you all and just keep those ideas coming in. So today, what I thought I'd do is have a little talk through my two drawers that I have in my box, and then we'll finish up with tying a couple of hook links. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tie a quick stop one and a bait band one, a pellet band. Now I already know before I even start this video that I'm going to get destroyed in comments by all the haters for not using a gizmo hook tire, and they're not all 6 inches and they're not all exactly the same size. Yeah, I know that. So you know, the fish don't know what's 3.5 inch to 4, you know, the 4 inch. I mean, as long as they're thereabouts, then you're all right, and it's never ever stopped me from catching frequently on it. So I'm just going to say that at the start, and then a little bit about what's in the trays. We can have a little chat through, talk through what I've got in there, why I've got it in there, a little bit about that, and then we'll look forward to filming the following day, where we're going to start having a look at some floats and how to tie pole rigs, and that'll be moving on using the hook links that we've done and other hook links to move on to those. So join me in the magic of editing with my two boxes. Right guys, so it's going to be one of those special videos where you just see my hands, and yeah, it's a bit OCD if I'm honest, but what we're going to do is we're going to go through it. We're going to talk about things I've got in here, why I've got them, things I recommend you to have, and just little bits along the way. All I'll say is anything in the comments that you see in the box that you're just quite interested in and I maybe not have gone over it, or you think you want to ask another question, just put it in the comments on the Facebook or the YouTube or the Instagram, and I will answer away for you. Obviously this is one of two sections that we're going to look at, so we'll get to that first, and what I'll do is I'll start with sort of the feeders and the bombs. Now most of you are going to recognise most of these feeders and bombs that are here. I've got various things. I try not to hoard things from massively past, but I've got quite a few bits and bobs in here. So these are the old school Preston cage feeders that we used to use for pellets, and they usually have an elastic that runs through them, and then obviously you stuff them with pellets and push your hook link in there. So they've got two of those, smaller sizes, a 15 and a 20 gram one. Now I don't use them very much, but I had some really memorable sessions with Andy Finley on both of those, so they just stay in my box pretty much as just a piece of history really. That's why they've got no attachments to them, in case I feel like, oh yeah, I'll use that, and then end up losing it. So Jura banjos, everybody's seen these. They're obviously the banjo shape. This is quite a light 20 gram one, but it's quite a large feed, so usually these are for casting short distances, for example to the other sides of Snake Lakes. I fish a lot of Oaks Lakes and venues like that where they have a short throw, and it obviously I need to eat a lot, so it's obviously big, but in weight wise I don't really need that. But then I have another larger, it's the same size but a different weight, and you all know that sort of the banjo system where you slide out the stem and put that stem into another one, so you can interchange them. That's if it starts to pick up and gets windier, or places like Lindome where it is an island chunk but it's maybe a little further. So both of those. I'm keeping on the Preston theme. We've just got a normal flatbed, again with the interchangeable system on there. And then we've got, get it out, the window feeder, which is, I've done a video in the winter, and you know, we'll do features on that in the future, so where you turn it around like so, and it's it's a window effectively. And the shotgun feeder, you've all seen my MIDI one for the shotgun feeder, real good piece of kit. If you haven't seen that video, it's a really good video. And they're great. I've got larger ones and smaller ones of those. So that's smaller one. That's obviously a larger. That's a sawn-off shotgun. Smaller one, and these two, sorry, are sawn-off shotgun ones. And I've got larger shotgun feeders in my other bag. There's the mini ones. I use these for the winter. The mini banjo feeders. They're great for winter fishing. Don't hold a lot of bait, and easy to throw out. The original, I think I've got an original banjo feeder in here as well. So it literally does look like a banjo, that one. That one's obviously got the elasticated, which not all venues allow you to use. And then moving on to some of the others, it's just the old school horseshoe style ones, the pellet feeder ones. These are all matrix ones. There's got a slightly bigger one as well there. These are good if you're going to fish sort of deep water, as you can push them in there, and obviously they've only got those holes at the top, so it takes a little bit more time for the water to force it out. So I tend to use them if I'm fishing pellet and I'm fishing maybe 5, 6, 7 foot of water. I would use one of those to get the bait down. I've got a couple of river feeders. Well, they're not necessarily maggot feeders, but they don't have to be river feeders. But these are the bottom-ended weight-wise. They're easy to cast. I like these as a sitting in the water, usually sort of buoyant about. I like these for fishing, if I'm fishing like a slack river or something that's not got a lot of pace in it. I have got bigger ones that won't fit in here that I obviously have in my river bag, which are bigger weighted ones. And then again, just the standard. To be honest, I don't fish them like this. I've got 3 of these, and they were to do the maggot feeder in around this time of year, catching the sort of hide and things at Oaks when I usually go this time of year, and I love to catch them. And I make them myself. I use the stems. If you've seen my my inline maggot feeder video, I actually make my own with using these Kamasan ones, and they really are good. So give that a go if you get a chance. It's a great video. And then just simple things like a normal sort of cage feeder, just a small one. I use that for bread feeder because it's small in winter time. And then I've obviously got a little bit bigger cages, like it's a normal Drennan cage, a flatbed. I like this for sort of open waterway. You're not obviously it's not a big cage or for a massive distance in weight. It's for like Birkwood and open areas that I'm going to cage fish. And there's also this one which is just a little bit different shape, and it's got little grippers on it inside, and it just hangs a little bit different. Both do much of muchness. And then I've just got a plethora of just standard old school method feeders which are dotted in around there. So that's just a little bit on that. Moving across to the next compartment, if you haven't got this, you should all have some. It's fantastic stuff, or a variant of this. So this is a lubricant, and it's not for all those naughty things you like to do. This is specifically for pole elastics, and it's fantastic stuff. Really good. Obviously it helps the aging of your elastic by keeping the lubrication on it, but it also when you're fishing and you're using it a lot and it's getting a lot of stretch, and when you're in summer it obviously dries out a bit, so get more out of your elastic. They're obviously not cheap as elastic, so anything like this can make that last longer. So into here, this one is a broken float because I had a few savage days on the the pellet waggler, but so obviously I need to get rid of this, but I'll show you it anyway, because this is I'll be buying some similar ones. I really like these Guru floats. These they're doing in loads of different sizes. This is 3.2 gram one, it's quite short, and I like this smaller one if I can get away with it, so it doesn't spook them. There's not a lot to see. They're quite wary of Birtwood Farm and places like Oaks where they're getting a lot of pressure. They're quite wary, so I like this little small sort of small float, and it doesn't it creates a little splashes which imitates obviously the pellet along with your pellet, but it doesn't seem to spook the fish as much, and I've had a lot of success, as you can see, by it being absolutely destroyed over the years. So I have got some more of those, but they're in one of my other tackle boxes. Now these are really sort of special to me. These are what my granddad gave me. Yeah, when I sort of started on the coarse fishing journey. Obviously he's no longer with us now, and I don't really use them very often, and obviously they're just bread punches that you use on a canal, or you know, for small roach and dace and things like that. But they're just, I have them in my box. I know people might think it's a little bit tacky, but when they're here, I know he's with me, and there's a little part of that with me in my box, so that's why I have them in there. And then obviously you both noticed these sort of two tools don't get used too much, but if I've got a stubborn soft pellet or something like that I want to put on a quick stop, then I'll use this to drill it through, or a boilie or something like that. And then again, this is just for hooking things on. So moving on from there, bristle grease. If no one's heard this, or no one uses this, anyone that's been fishing for quite a while may know this more. I'm not going to say more than modern day anglers, but it is an old school technique. And effectively what you're doing is you shot your float so it's nearly under the water. I mean, well, it's just breaking the surface under the water, and you bring it back in and you stick the tip of the whole stem of the tip of the float, the bristle, into the grease. You don't want it to be absolutely caked, but you just a nice thin coating. And basically what that does is it's like wax resist, and it holds the surface tension, so the float is all unbelievably sensitive. So if you're missing those little sharp bites, or if you're fishing F1s and you're missing those tiny little dink bites, you can have it so it's just shotted on just breaking the surface of the water, and then put some bristle grease and it'll hold it slightly above, so as soon as that fish literally touches that bait, that float will go under and you'll get a lot better reading. Obviously sorry, it's a bit more difficult in windier conditions, but always should have this, especially in winter. It's really good stuff, and I've won quite a few matches just putting this on, just to keep down the sensitivity in winter league matches. But I also use it a lot in F1 fishing if I'm fishing in the winter, and just because those bites are so delicate. So on crucian fishing as well, they're really good, even in the summer. Crucian fishing is really good. So moving on from that, I've got a sort of an array of a similar style pots. These are all just little tap pots, little cad pots that go on the top, varying in size depending on what time of year you're going to use them and for what certain thing you're going to use them. All have got sort of different lids with holes in it, grids in it, all to just sort of utilise what you're doing. So I've got those, but I've also got the really good tower pots from Midi. They're really good as well. So I depending on what I'm using, either of those. But if I in the rare occasions nowadays that I do fish matches, or I am fitting a few setups, I can have a few on and I don't have to mess about swapping and changing it. So I'm just going to nudge that across now to the end bit of this first section of this, and obviously this is a baiting needle. It's not a quick stop needle, so this is if you're wanting to, for example, if you wanted to push something through and then pull a loop through to hook something on, or if you're tying something and you just need to get that really delicate touch, one of these are great. This is a Preston one. They're all good, to be honest, but get one what's a floatable one, because the amount of times I've dropped them over the years, I can't even remember how many times. And then I've got the opposite tool to go with that, which is a quick stop needle, which is obviously what you would use to put on your baits. So also here I've got one of these, but I never ever use it, really rare, unless if it's really raining or it's really cold. That's the only time I'd use it, apart from sometimes I bait band bread for floating bread. I find they get a better presentation, but it's really fiddly because you need to nip a piece of bread and then put it on, so it does make it quite difficult. So I always have that in there, plus there's always people that come with me and I end up lending them it. An 8mm punch, I've got a few more of those stuck away in my other one, but I have that there for if I'm fishing meats. Usually I punch the meat through. So onto these, you've all seen the schlots from Progen Tackle. I use those pretty much all my pole fishing now. I do have the Preston Stocks there as a backup, and that's what I used to fish with, and I still rate them absolutely, and do fish with those if needed, or if I run out of either of the schlots. But they're just really good. I like the green sort of camo effect against the water. They're really difficult to see, and I just get on really well with them. A little clippers. Clippers are great just for those tight little finishing snips right close to the hooks when you're tying things on. This is an absolute must for me. I always have a permanent marker in there. A lot of the times it comes randomly, and you need it randomly for random stuff. But the main thing is if I've got a float dialed in and it's really sunny, and sometimes what I do is it casts obviously the sun across. I colour in the tip of the float, which obviously blacks it out so I can see it better. So that's the reason that's in there. Moving on from that, just make sure we're in shot. There we go. We've got the scissors. Obviously everyone should have a pair of scissors in the box. Should never be without that. A plummet. Should always have a plummet in there. This is a Garbo one. I have got one of them fancy Guru ones, and one of those fancy what they call it, Preston ones as well, but they're in another box. I'm just going to quickly go back to in this one because I forgot to mention I've got various amount bombs in there. Guru bombs, sort of Olivette style bombs, some other different brown. These are just for different types of water. If it's quite a sort of silty clay bottom, then I'll use the brown ones. If it's a different more gravelly, then I'll use these ones. I only have my small leads in here. Obviously the river leads are in the other box. I'm a big fan of forceps, although I use a disgorger like everybody else does. I do have forceps in there because sometimes you get those really awkward ones and they're really stuck in, and they're difficult to get to, so I always have those, always. And again, I always have electricity tape in there. Never know when you just want to tape up a pot, or put a little bit on your tip of your pole so things don't slide off. Just there's all plethora of things that you could use it for, so that's why I have that in there, along with there's two Dacron connectors in there. That's a small one, and then there's a medium Drennan one there as well, and both of them are there just as backup in case anything breaks off or snaps off. Super glue, massive fan of super glue. Again, if you're dialed in, you want a float repair, or you just, there's loads of things you can do with super glue, and that's one reason why I have it there. Again, there's a couple of floats here. Nice little Progen, sort of small shallow float or margin float for shallow margin, and I always have those in just in case anything happens. I don't have to get off my box and pull out the tray. Well, I don't have to get off my box anyway, I could pull the tray out, but it's just there in case I want it as an extra. And a lot of times, to be honest, people come fishing with me and I let them try floats out and things like that. So this is a knife, this is one of my favourite knives. Could do with a little bit of a wash down or a shatten. My wife got me this in the Lake District in Pooley Bridge, which is one of his favourite places, still sharp to be fair. And I have that just as a utility thing. Trim bits of stuff off, cut cut meat, sometimes get into tins that are a bit difficult to get into, but I always have a knife in there, and I suggest you do. Plus, if anyone's choices to nick my tackle, they'll be getting that put into the leg. Metal putty. I don't know if you've ever used tungsten's putty before, and you just break it off, and what this is for dialing your floating when it's winter. Again, like a lot of people, when you fish deeper rigs and you put olivettes and shots on, you can mould that a bit like an olivette and really dial your floating. It's difficult with cold fingers, so that you just work that in your fingers and put that on, and it's fantastic. But in summer weather it just don't stay on, so don't do it in summer. And there's a little bit of braid. Don't really use this. I've had it for a little bit. Sometimes if you're fishing snaggy pegs and you want to put a hook link with a little bit more sensitivity and a bit more feel than a mono one, then that's what that's for. And again, in there, this one essential for all you pole fishers. They're the little rubbers, or various different lengths, widths to put on your floats. So what we'll do, we'll flip over to the other box and we'll have a go. Right guys, so we're on the second of my 2 main drawers that I have to hand. Now a lot of this is line and the rest is sort of hooks and little bits and bobs, but we'll go into them. So I've got precision power, and then I've got a selection of reflow powers, a bit of Garbolino and a bit of Guru Engage. Now I don't really use that much anymore. It's still great line, but as you all know, I fish with the ProGen lines and the Gen Pro line, and it's mega to be honest. When this all kicks off, it stops going mental and we can reorder. I'm gonna order some more just in between, because I need some 015, some 017 line, but I use the Gen Pro for all my pole fishing, all my rigs, and all my floats are all ProGen. Absolute mega stuff. It's just so strong. I can genuinely say I fished with it for a full year last year, and we've seen the videos. We hammer it, we catch good fish. I have never once, touch wood, been snapped off. Not once. And not one hook link, not one pole rig, nothing has ever snapped, which is crazy, to be honest, but that's just a testament to how bloody good it is. So I've got 016, 020, 018, I've run out of 017 and 015 and 014, and 013, which I had, so I do need to reorder all of those. So that's the line. I'm just going to go, that's a quick and easy one to go over, and then I'll just go into a bit more detail about what I've got in here. So I've got a bush. I always have a spare. This is a 2.3mm bush. This is quite a small bush, to be fair. I don't really, it don't fit loads of my top kits. It's more for the smaller kits that I have in there, but it's a spare, so I'll just keep that in there in case there's people with me that need it. So again, the punches, like we saw in the other compartment, we've got a 2mm, a 6mm, and this one's a 12mm, this one. Yeah, but yeah, so we've got those punches again. Like I said, bread in winter, and I use it for meat. They're the only 2 things I use it for. So the ICM inline quick change beads, these obviously go into the ICM feeders, really easy, and you all know how they work. It's just sleeve, a bit like a old school storm throw connector for a pole. It's a similar scenario, but they've got a sort of tapered end, so they just shove up to the feeder, and the line goes, obviously the line can go through. So it's yeah, that's those as spares. Now I'm going to go on to hooks last, because everyone always wants to know what's going on there. Quick stops, everybody knows what they are, and to go along with quick stops we have bait bands, which again everybody knows. These, I'll bring some out of pack. Some of you will know what these are, and some of you won't. If you don't, and you want to see how you put them on a line and what they are, and how to use them, then I'll do that in one of the videos. So what it is the feeder beads, or float beads, and you basically slide them onto your line, and your float will slide in between them, or your feeder will butt up against them. They're very, very, very small. You absolutely can't thread them onto your line. There's a certain way of doing it. It's fairly easy, if I'm honest, but if you want me to touch on that while I'm doing something else on another video, then just let me know in the comments and I'll show you how to do that. And probably do it when I'm showing you how to set a rig up, because I'm going to set up a float rig, a normal waggler rig. We'll go through all of those on different videos, because we've obviously got plenty of time. So these here, these are a little bit of a guarded secret, I'll be honest. I'm letting the cat out of the bag a little bit. If anybody fishes Tom's Pond in Otley for trout, or these are really good for F1s as well. And what they are is, I don't fish with them very often. They never come off. They're like a rubber bait, and you hook them, or you can put them through with a quick stop, and they never, ever, ever, ever come off. I've never, one of them, I've never come off. That's why I've still got pretty much all. There were 4 lines of them, so let's see. There's 4 lines of them, so I've used 3. And I've had them for 2 years, so that just proves how indestructible. My God, have I caught a lot of fish on them. Honestly, loads of them, and you just keep them on, and you just never have to bait up. It's amazing. I use that in conjunction with a little secret concoction, which I can't tell you unless you DM me, and that's really nice, and I might tell you, at Tom's, to catch them, to go over the top, a bit of flavouring, and honestly, it's so good. So in this little bag here, obviously everybody knows these are quick change beads. I always have a plethora of those in there, and then these bad boys. Now, if you don't know what these are to go when you fold your top 2 in half, and you have elastic that goes between, so it doesn't rub on the top of the 2 section walls. This little divider sits between the section walls, and that elastic goes over the top, and that's just to keep your elastic safe. So I always have them in there, because if they fall out, no doubt they're notorious for falling out, then, you know, at least I won't lose them. So what I'll do is I'll lay the hooks out, and then we can pick them up and have a look at them, and just give me 2 seconds then, and it'll be nice and easier for you to look at them. Alright, so before we get onto the hooks, I've got I didn't say those, but I've got a feeder link swivel, so that's got a swivel and then an extra bit on with a click bit where you clip on and off your feeders, so that obviously they're a bit bigger, and then I've got the double swivels. This is if you're adding line to line on either side of it, or you're adding making a helicopter rig or something like that. They're great. I always have both of those in my box. So I do need some more hooks. But last year, when I went into Bobcat end of the season, just getting absolutely smashed for the hooks that I want. There were nearly none in size. So I'll quickly touch on these. Banded silverfish and wide-gaped carp. Now these wide-gaped carp, 18s to £4. Don't use these very often. I tie all my own things, and you can see by the how it looks that it's quite an old pack, and there's probably no hooks in it, if I'm honest. And I don't really use those. These ones I do use with the silver ones, the £3 8-ounce line and 18 hooks. I use these banded ones just usually for F1 fishing, or for bream, skimmer, or large roach fishing with a hard pellet. Winter, really, only winter that I use these. And I do tie my own, but sometimes it's good to have these if for some reason you get smashed up and it's cold. It's always just good to have them, and that's really what they're there for. Just because if my hands get cold, and I can put them on and it's quick and easy. If you looked at my pellet in the cold water video I did at Birkwood just before the lockdown, I was using these, and that was purely for that reason, because it was so cold. So as you can see, I'm a massive fan of KKMBs, MCMBs and GPMBs, which is a crazy names with all these things, but I'm just going to go from left to right. So the specie hooks, everything I've got here is barbless. All my barbed hooks for the river are in my river bag. If you do want me to go through river and jig bag, then just let me know. It's not always as popular, so I don't tend to do it as much unless I'm doing a session, because most people want to see commercial stuff. But if you do, I will do it, that's not a problem. I might even do it on a YouTube live or something like that. So these are size 8 hooks. I don't really use these for anything else than bread fishing. That's pretty much all I use those for. Just put them up there. KKMB 10s and 12s. Now, these are my go-to hook for paste. I'm sure if everybody's watched my paste videos, they know that. Now, if I can get away with having a 10, then I'll use a 10. But most fisheries, you're not allowed anything bigger than a 12. So obviously that's where the 12s are. But the 10s are there. If I could use them, I'd use them. It just gives you a little bit more chance of pulling it through quicker. But to be honest, I have a massive success on the 12s. And I would put the 10s on if I was going for bigger fish. Say you're fishing somewhere like Larford Lakes, where you know that you potentially or hayfields, places you know you're going to catch big sort of mid doubles, Houston Ferry, and places like that, Lindholm on Locos. 10s if I can get away with it. If I can't, then it's got to be a 12. Then KKMBs all the time. Now I have a selection of, so like I was saying, I do tie my own winter rigs, KKMB size 20. So I've just realised I'm saying KKMB, I'm making it off the cuff. If you don't know what KKMB is, those kind of hooks are for hair rigging. So when my next video on Tuesday we'll be tying those 2 rigs. I was going to put it in this video, but it's going to be too long. I'm going to tie a banded one and another one, a banded one and a quick stop one, and I'll probably just tie a normal one as well, just a standard rig that you'd use for corn or something. These ones I would use for when you use a pellet band or a quick stop, because of the curve of the shank of the hook is for hair rigging. And then same as if you're stepping it up to a 14 sized hook, I've got the KKMBs, but I've also got the carp hair rigger Drennans. I do like those as well. They tend to be a sort of they're not too much dissimilar. I just like the KKMBs because they're really strong, super sharp, and they're dark in colour. So I always feel that they just can't see. I know it's mind over matter. But the hair riggers, 14s, the Drenners are just as good, just as strong. I just feel that KKMB is a little sharper. And then moving on to sort of the GPMBs. Now these are, if I'm tying a normal standard rig for corn or anything like that, it's a straight shank, which means obviously there's no. Normally they'll taper off to the tip, which I'll show you when we tie in, because obviously it's going to be a little difficult unless we zoom in. These are straight shanked, so when I'm tying a blood knot down to that, then they'll sit above the top of the eye of the top. Whereas if I'm tying a knotless knot, it'll be wrapped round the shank and it'll pull against the front of the eye, which again I'll go into tomorrow's video. So I have those for like corn, anything you're going to hook, corn, meat, anything like that. That's what maggots, that's what I would have. And then the MCMBs, I've started to use a lot more for feeder fishing. And people may say, sorry, why am I using sort of hair rigger hook for paste? I always use it because you can put a tag end on it, and that tag end is what I use as a little additional piece of grip for the paste. If you want to go in great detail of that, I've got so many paste videos, just have a little go, and any comments, just give me a comment. These are both the same size, I got them in a multi-pack. MCMBs, now these are really short shank on them, and it's really curved. It's almost the bend of the hook almost bends back on itself, and what they are is when you hook the fish, it's really sort of it hooks around, and it's really difficult to pull them out. And sometimes it can be a bit of a ball ache trying to unhook them, even though they are barbless, but they are really good and they do hold really well. So I tend to use these now on the feeder, where I still use the KKMB sometimes, but I tend to have moved to the MCMBs because of that curved hook shape. And then again with 18s, I have a plethora of different styles. depending on what I need them for. I would always have KKMBs and MCMBs in 18s as well, just for hair rigging, and probably GPMBs as well, just for hooking. But obviously none of them are in stock, so they're things that I need to look at doing. So I've got some Silverfish 18s. These Maver Elite ones, I like them because they're really thin wire and they're really good for using for maggot fishing or caster fishing. Don't pop the casters, they're really thin hook and they go into the silver mouth really well, so I do use those. B911s, a lot of people use B911s, really good sort of hook for, again, for hooking with a blood knot or just maggot, anything caster, stuff like that. And then the hair rigger wise, the 18s like we saw before, they're the sort of curved shank, and then we're on to the match carp, which again are a nice draining hook, and they're straight shanked again, so if you were hooking those, just tying a rig where you're going to hook corn and things like that, they make a nice little hook for F1s and stuff like that. So let's go tell my dog to shut up, and we'll get back to main camera and right guys, so hope that gives you a little insight into what's in my box. Tomorrow's video we'll have a look at how to tie rigs. I've also going to be doing one what's in my bait bag as well, and a little bit around baits because there'll be things that are missing, but so I'll mention what I would have in for certain seasons as well. So thanks again for the support. Join us on the Facebook group Angling For You. Join us on the Instagram Angling_for You. Like and subscribe guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Tight lines.